We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And now, New Galaxy Enterprises proudly presents Inalienable and Free, a program addressing the grave challenges to human and citizen rights in America and the rest of the world. This is Johnny Bluestar, back with co-host Dr. Hugo Rodier, an integrative physician who is interested in the health of the country and the planet besides his own patients. This program was recorded on the first day of the government shutdown, from which we had a slight break. But now the political pyrogenics will continue just as before as the Democrats and Republicans fight to find a mutually agreeable solution, or in a few weeks, the shutdown starts again. Today's show is titled, Will the Shutdown Mask the Crisis in North Korea? Just remember, before the shutdown, the North and South Koreans decided to enter the Olympics under the same flag and opened up their military hotline for the first time in years. But then everything got interrupted.
There was panic in paradise.
All personnel take shelter immediately.
Just after 8 a.m. in Hawaii, pandemonium in paradise. Hysteria triggered by a false alarm. The terrifying message screamed across cell phones throughout the state. Ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill.
An accidental alert went out across Hawaii urging people to take shelter due to an incoming ballistic missile. The false alarm was eventually called off, but not before Hawaiians and tourists started scrambling, even saying their goodbyes.
Cell phone signals here were absolutely overloaded as people called their loved ones to say goodbye as others ran for cover. It was a chaotic and confusing scene and a place known for its tranquility.
The emergency alert caused pandemonium when it went out to cell phones this morning across the islands, and it did not mince words. Ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii, it said. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. The false alert also went out on local TV.
The U.S. Pacific Command has detected a missile threat to Hawaii
and prompted evacuation announcements.
This false missile alert was followed by another false missile alert in Japan. It is important to realize that while the shutdown was being debated, a component, perhaps the strongest concern, even more than DACA or Trump's wall, was the Republican demand for a formidable military budget. Not all Republicans agreed.
A Republican congressman who disagrees. He's Jimmy Duncan, says that true fiscal conservatives simply cannot justify upping the defense budget to that degree. It would be over $100 billion from where it is now, Congressman, and you're saying that's a little extreme, right?
Well, it was $80 billion over the budget caps, Neil, and it was billions more even than President Trump requested. And so I asked the question, it makes me wonder whether there's any fiscal conservatives at the Pentagon. And I'm very pro-defense, but you can go ridiculously overboard on anything, and we've more than doubled defense spending since 2000, and that's more than double the rate of inflation during those years. So I think we need to look for ways to operate more efficiently with a little less money, and I think it's possible to do that.
Now, are you saying a little less money from the budget the way it is now, or from what they're talking about to break these spending caps to allow for a little bit more? One of the things, for example, that John McCain has looked to do.
Well, I said in the speech I gave on the floor, you know, that our national debt has now gone over $20 trillion. And we announced a few weeks ago that the deficit for this past fiscal year was $666 billion. And some people think it's going to be even higher this next year. And so I think we've got to have some fiscal conservatism in every department, even in the Defense Department. And in fact, there is waste, even in the Defense Department. And I'm a veteran. I started in the Army as an enlisted man and rose to the rank of captain. And I think national defense is probably our most legitimate function of our national government. But I still think that we ought to operate frugally even in that department.
While Korean initiatives about the Olympics continued, a draft of a nuclear posture review from the Defense Department came out. It spoke about the need to create more tactical nuclear weapons, also arguing for a preemptive strike using nuclear weapons in the case of a full-out nuclear attack, say a cyber attack against the national electric grid. Meanwhile, 352 bombers headed off to Guam capable of being nuclear armed, including tactical nuclear weapons. We currently have nearly 40,000 military personnel in Japan, 35,000 in Korea and the island of Guam, is to be utilized as a, quote, permanent aircraft carrier. Our 7th Fleet is stationed nearby in Guam with as much as 14 destroyers and cruisers and up to 12 nuclear-powered submarines. The doomsday clock of the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists just notched a bit closer to midnight. Join Dr. Hugo Rodier and I as we study the impact of war plans and preparation that continue on despite the peace initiatives by North Korea and the government shutdown still a strong possibility, even after the agreement to keep the government going for a few more weeks.